My name's Cole. I'm 38. Career Army. Been deployed more times than I can count. Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, you name it. I'm one of those guys who never really took off the uniform, even when I was home. Discipline, duty, all that. I used to think it made me strong, made me a good man, a good husband. Maybe that's where I screwed up. I've been married to Alice for over a decade. We met before my first real deployment. She was the calm to my storm. Smart, funny. That kind of soft-spoken woman who doesn't need to scream to be heard. When I was off in the desert, she'd write me these long emails, always asking about how I was, telling me how much she missed me. We had a daughter after my second deployment. I missed her birth. I missed her first steps. I told myself it was for a greater cause. I trusted that Alice understood that too. But when I came home from my last tour, 8 months ago, something was off. You know when someone hugs you, but they don't really hug you? That was her. I chalked it up to time apart. It's hard to reconnect after so long, especially with all the shit bouncing around your head from combat. The nightmares. The stiffness in your chest when you hear fireworks and your brain screams, "Incoming!" She'd grown more distant. Sex slowed to a crawl. She'd said she was tired, overworked, stressed. Our daughter, now 13, was moody as hell and barely spoke. I thought maybe the family just needed time. Maybe I needed time. A month ago, I was cleaning out the garage, trying to stay productive, and I found this box wedged behind an old cabinet. It was taped shut, dusty. I figured it was one of our storage boxes, but when I opened it, it wasn't Christmas lights or old toys. It was letters. Stacks of them. All addressed to the same person. Private First Class Luke Mendez. I sat there for a second, the name punching the air out of my lungs. Luke had been under my command in Mosul. A good kid. Brave. Bit cocky, but loyal. He died 6 months before I rotated out. I was the one who zipped his body back. I remember writing the damn condolence letter to his family. And here I was, staring at a stack of handwritten letters from my wife to him. The handwriting was hers. The tone was soft, personal, romantic. I couldn't believe what I was reading. "I miss your smile," she wrote in one. "It's getting harder to pretend around Cole." Another, "When this is over, maybe we won't have to hide." My stomach turned. My hands shook. I read every single one of those letters, sitting on a cold concrete floor, choking on disbelief. She'd been writing to him for over a year, and not just letters, there were photos too. Selfies. Some innocent, some not. One in particular made my jaw clench so tight it cracked. She was in our bedroom, wearing my shirt, taking a photo for him. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay next to her in silence, my heart a hurricane. I wanted to scream, to shake her awake and demand the truth. But I didn't. Not yet. Because the man she cheated with, he was already dead. And I needed to understand everything before I tore it all apart. I started watching her more closely after that night. Not in an obvious way, just quiet observation. The way she looked at her phone and smiled faintly. The way she'd disappear into the bathroom for 20 minutes with it. She didn't know I knew. That was the power I had now. One evening, while she was making dinner, I said, "You ever think about Luke Mendez?" Her hand froze mid-chop, just for a second. Then she kept cutting. "Of course," she said. "He was one of your soldiers, right?" I nodded. "Yeah, good kid." She didn't ask why I brought him up, didn't say anything else about him. That was all I needed. Confirmation without confirmation. Later that week, I copied the letters, every one of them, hid them on a flash drive, and tucked the original box back where I found it. I wasn't sure what I'd do with them yet, but I couldn't carry this weight alone anymore. I called my brother, Jake, ex-Marine, now a bartender in town. We never talked much about personal stuff, but I told him everything. His voice went cold. "She was writing love letters to a guy you commanded?" "Yep." "And he's dead?" "Yep." Silence. Then, "That's some sick shit, man." I agreed, but I wasn't done digging, because I had this gnawing feeling that the letters weren't the end. They were the beginning. I started checking timelines, deployment dates, leave days, phone bills. I still had access to a lot more than she probably remembered. Military life teaches you to track things, movements, patterns, inconsistencies. So I dug, quietly, patiently. I realized Luke had taken leave once during our second tour, said it was a family emergency. At the time, I approved it without question. He was one of the few guys I trusted. But now, with everything I knew, I checked flight records, credit card charges. I found a hotel reservation in our town, 2 nights, under a different name, but the billing address matched Luke's mom's house in Texas. The date? It was the same weekend Alice had gone to visit her cousin in Ohio. I remember being happy she had a break. Now I was staring at the receipts and realizing I'd been played like a goddamn fool. And that wasn't even the worst of it. One night, I looked deeper into Alice's old email. She thought she deleted everything, but a few sent messages still existed in the trash folder. Forwarded pictures, some romantic, some sexual. I felt my stomach turn. One photo showed Luke wearing my favorite hoodie in our living room. Another showed them at a diner I used to take her to before I deployed. There was a caption, "It feels more like home when I'm with you." I sat in silence. Couldn't cry. Couldn't scream. I just stared at the screen and felt my bones go cold. The man I trained, the man I wrote letters of recommendation for, the man I honored in a folded flag ceremony, he was screwing my wife behind my back while I risked my life overseas. I still didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted to see how far she'd go, pretending, because the next move was mine. I started playing the long game, pretending everything was normal, smiling, kissing her on the cheek, asking about her day. Every touch, every word out of her mouth felt like acid on my skin, but I needed to see how deep her lie went. I wasn't just trying to catch her. I wanted to watch her build the fantasy she thought I still believed. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just hurt, it haunts. I set up a second phone, synced it to our home Wi-Fi, disguised it as an old broken device I used for music. I hid it behind a bookshelf in the living room, angled just enough to catch the couch and hallway. I didn't expect anything dramatic. I figured she'd keep things quiet now that I was home. But on the third afternoon I left for training, she invited someone over. Not Luke. A different man. Younger. From what I could tell, a bartender we'd met at a friend's wedding a year ago. He showed up like he'd done it before. Casual, confident, holding a bottle of wine and a grin like he owned the place. I watched the footage that night in the garage, knees shaking, stomach twisting. They didn't even talk long. She kissed him before the door closed. They didn't make it past the hallway. I paused the video and just stared at her face. She looked
alive, carefree, like she hadn't a single worry in the world, like I hadn't given her my youth, my loyalty, my heart. That's when the numbness turned to rage. Not just because of what she did, but because I realized something worse. She wasn't even sorry. Not then. Not once. And I still had no idea how far this rabbit hole went.
I confronted her without warning. No setup, no dramatic reveal. Just me, her, and the silence between us at breakfast. I slid the phone across the table. Press play. She looked down, confused, until the video started. Her face dropped. That frozen second where the world flips upside down and everything inside you knows it's over. I didn't say a word. I wanted her to sit in the sound of her own betrayal. She reached for the phone, as if taking it back would undo it all. "Wait, Jake, I can explain." "Which one? The bartender? Or Luke? Or are there more?" Her mouth opened, then closed. No words came out, just panic in her eyes. That was my answer. I stood up, walked to the garage, sat on the concrete floor while she cried inside. I didn't care. I wasn't listening. Not anymore. Hours passed. She didn't come out. Good. That night, I packed a bag. Just essentials. Gun-safe keys, documents, the flash drive with her letters. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't leave a note. I just drove. Called Jake. He had a couch. Beer. Silence. The kind of silence you share with someone who's seen war and knows when not to ask questions. I told him everything, even about Luke. He listened, then said one thing that stuck with me. You don't heal by pretending it didn't happen. You heal by burning what's left and rebuilding from ash. I wasn't ready to burn it all yet, but I was close, real close.